parents are very strict. Where are you going with those skates? Wear your helmet. Are you doing that too? Are you jumping on those banisters?
Hello.
Sup, Joss?
Hey man.
How's it going?
Good. First of all, sorry for um my crappy phone. That's why it looks so fuzzy and bad. But you get the idea. Here I am.
I was more concerned about your Viking look that you're going for with your long
Uh,
locks and your bushy beard.
yeah, maybe it's a good reminder of how long we've been away for, like how long my hair's got. So, but yeah, we're here to talk about the up and coming Sunskate titles.
Yep. Yeah.
Which this is only 2 weeks away now. So two weeks.
I think it's 10 days away, I think.
Yeah. So we've left
It's
it pretty
real
late.
soon.
Yeah. And I guess the reason that I thought we should do it, you might have already thought, is because I asked how many people were registered for the competition, and your answer was 3, 4 now.
Oh,
Okay, so
4.
one more.
Yeah.
Okay. Which was a little bit concerning because I thought, because of what it is, or maybe more to the point, what people don't really know that it is. I thought there would be more people registered.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. Yeah, I think it's going to be Sunskate titles, for those that don't know, is an all action sports event over King's birthday weekend, which was Queen's birthday weekend. So there's rollerblading, roller skating, BMX, rollerblading, roller skating, skateboarding, BMX, and scooter riding. So a real cool event made up of a whole mix of sports at Sunskate, which is New Zealand's only indoor skate park, run by a rollerblader. And this is kind of the first ever real big event, cross sports event there to just celebrate a year of being in business and a year
Yeah.
of operating for the community. So it's quite cool.
Yeah. And it's unofficially sort of becoming something else. Well, at least for the inline, eh?
Yeah, so it's not unofficially, it is official. So the top 8 qualifiers from the rollerblading division qualify for rollerblading in X-Air, which is what we kind of preempted on the show, that blading was back on our last episode when we caught up. So rollerblading top 8 qualify for X-Air, and in the other sporting disciplines, so skateboarding, BMX, and scooter riding, they have 5 wildcard entries per sport. So those that aren't pre-qualified already, they can then qualify in based on their results. So quite cool.
So it's kind of a big deal, I suppose, in the sense that being there for a rollerblading anyway, like there's a really good chance just being there, you're probably going to get an invite.
Yeah. And
to something pretty cool.
We remember what X-Air was back in the day, and how big it was and important it was to us growing up, and shaping us as humans.
Yeah, because I mean, between the gap between last year, the gap between X-Air last year and then the last one in Wellington was a good number of years, wasn't it?
Well, I'm pretty sure the last one that I remember going to was 2006. No, 2007.
Yeah, so my point was it's been away, or it's been dormant for a long time. And I got the feeling, I didn't go to the last one like my wife and kids did, and they said it was cool, but from what I saw, it wasn't the same as what it got to in its last year in Wellington. And I wouldn't expect it to be, but it could be, by the sound of it, if it all goes to plan, starting to head back to that sort of caliber, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is the largest action sports event in New Zealand, and I might be speculating, but Australasia with all sports involved.
Yeah,
Because there's
and
nothing
I'm
really
mainly
big in
talking.
Australia.
Yeah, but I guess what I was mainly talking about is like the whole hype and the whole feel and the whole like
Yeah,
environment of the thing, because it got pretty wild in the last few years at Wellington. Like it was a cool thing to go to, and it was a cool thing. Like, we used to even just do like a roadie to get there, like a
yeah.
week's long trip beforehand. So it was as much about all that other stuff that went along with being at the course and skating
Mm.
and a competition as it was just the whole vibe of Exia.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was so rad. It was
Yeah.
cool, like you say, leading up and post.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess partly I thought it would be cool to do it, and we thought it would be cool to do this video
Mm.
to like get some excitement going again, because yeah, the last time I went to a comp at Sunskate, yeah, it was really cool, and everyone was there jamming and skating together, and you got to see a lot of people. But it almost seemed like a little bit of that energy of competitions from a decade or two ago has sort of gone a little bit.
Yeah, in terms of that
And I don't,
competitive nature of them.
yeah, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like it's a little bit different now.
Yeah,
I wonder if like some of those rivalries can come back, or like like some of it can be like a bit more competitive. Not that I was ever gunning for that kind of thing,
yeah.
but that did kind of make it cool.
You know, I think there's a certain level of competition between a couple of the riders that ride in New Zealand.
Hmm.
Mainly not calling anyone out, but everyone's kind of gunning for Meat because Meat wins a lot of comps. But it's not quite the Tim Danny rivalry of old where they were doing the same gap.
Yeah, and there was even like the Australian New Zealand rivalry for a while there.
Yeah, or Jaron Grove when he tried to compete with Tim to see who was going to land that disaster first.
Yeah, yeah.
And they
Well,
both
Danny did as
wrote
well.
themselves
Yeah,
off. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe as things go on, we can get back to sort of that kind of feel for the thing. But it all starts with people showing up to Sunskate and
Definitely.
being able to put on a good good show there, I guess, as corny as that sounds.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not corny. We don't have a whole lot of local events in the calendar, and you kind
Mm.
of need to turn up and support, just in the same way you turn up and you try to support your local skate shop, being Calvin at Shred City, you turn up and support events as well. We got some stellar judges on the rollerblading front.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what all the different positions in rollerblading get filled with. Like
Yeah.
the days of Brooke are gone, but are they gone? Ben will probably be there somewhere, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not attending Sunskate, but
Yeah.
so that means I've got to, you've unfortunately got to listen to me on the mic for quite a few hours.
And so it starts on Saturday morning.
Yeah, so for rollerblading, roller skating, it's 8:30 a.m. start, which is early for some.
It's very
Um,
early.
but we've got 8:30 till 10 to register, and then we start the comp at 10 with the under 18 rollerbladers, well 18 and under rollerblading, and get straight into it. Because we've got two sports being rollerblading and roller skating to accommodate and multiple disciplines, we kind of have to get cracking on it pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were going to try to introduce something a bit different than years gone past. So we've kind of got a judging format we're going to talk, well, you and I got to talk to late this week, but we're going to introduce something called a banger trick, which makes up a percentage of your score. So at the end of your jam session, you have an opportunity to two tries to land your banger trick, and that makes up a percentage of your total score, which is
The
something
fish
a
is
little bit different.
Yeah.
But it means from a crowd perspective, your focus is on one person, and it makes it quite interesting. You have two tries to up your level of risk in terms of trying something you haven't necessarily got 100%, or something that's slightly more of a banger than what you'd attempted during your part of the jam session. So should be quite cool to watch.
Yeah. And it could just even be another chance to get it without anyone on the course. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
So
yeah.
we have a guest, and we've had a very long preamble, but shall we introduce who our guest is and then bring him on?
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, Steve McHardy, and I really hope I'm not butchering your name, last name Steve, is the organizer of Exia. Him and his lovely wife, and also Pete, are involved in bringing the Exia platform back. And we thought we'd interview him and get a different perspective from the man himself. So you're all good if I bring him on in, Joss?
Mm.
There we go. G'day. Connecting to audio. Steve?
Have you got me?
Yep, got you now.
Here we go.
Gotcha. There we go.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Good.
I don't know if you remember, Joss, when we caught up from that last kind of Zoom session. Nice.
We had a brief talk. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Joss looks a little bit more homeless than what he did in that last chat, though, with the massive beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I make up for your guys' lack of facial hair. It's cool.
Yeah,
Hey, I've got some.
You gotta leave it. Yeah.
I did actually just try to trim it up and look all tidy for this call. Like I shaved my neck and I shaved a little bit of hair, and I went to a bit too nuts with the old shaving down the sides, and now I've had to trim it way too much. So
I
anyway,
get told I look like a doormat when I grow a beard because it's full ginger, and the wife says I look like a doormat. So
There's nothing wrong with a ginger doormat.
That's
tell
why
me
Joss has
about
got
it.
that filter.
There's nothing wrong with it.
So we have a few questions for you, Stephen. Really appreciate you jumping on to
Hey, no problem.
podcast.
Happy to be here.
So we kind of thought we'd start way back when, from someone who knows Exia particularly well, and just ask a question around Exia's history, like how did it start, and then what was your involvement back in the day?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I was at the very first one. I think was it 99 or it might have been 2000, on the banks of the Waikato River, and all they had was a vert ramp, and wakeboarding and the thing behind, and it was a bit of a fun event that the original promoter of Exia, Mark Wright, put on. And ever since we went to that very first one, I was kind of hooked. It was it was a cool event. It was kind of, at the time in New Zealand, probably the first big, the start of something that was going to be quite big. And so I started like riding, the vert ramp there with a bunch of mates. We went down for the weekend and did a lot more partying than riding. And I think we met some of the rollerblading crew that were down there at the time. I think it was like the guy Aaron had, was it K2 back in the day? Was that a
Rollerblade, Aaron from Rollerblade?
Yeah. And that was pretty cool. And then we just ended up partying and making great mates. And then they said, it's coming back the following year. And then it went to Hamilton and the Hillcrest Tavern.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys were down there for that one.
Yeah.
Yep. That was pretty cool. And then I think us as riders, we got told it was on the park course was set up on the AstroTurf on the basketball, was it tennis courts, I think?
Tennis courts, yeah.
Yeah, we got told no skids on the tennis court. You can't leave black marks on there. And by the end of the weekend, it was covered in black marks.
Yeah.
And I think then after that, it just grew to, as you guys know, it went to Hamilton, Claudelands Event Centre. I think they did Exia Mark did 3 years there. One of the years they had like Tony Hawk and, anyone in the action sports, scene back then. And then it got too big for Hamilton. And then Wellington obviously put their hand up and said, hey, we're going to host this. And 2006 and 2007 was in Wellington. And it was huge. It was the biggest action sports event in Australasia at the time.
It grew really fast.
Really fast, organically, before social media. It just grew so fast, and it was word of mouth. It was just such a cool event. And I think the biggest appeal for me, back in the day of competing, I competed it all the way through. I don't think I competed in Wellington. I think I did all of the Hamilton ones, and then sort of gave up, and just, the competition got insane. So, it was like, just nah. And I think why it was so popular was because it was a fun event, right? It was no pressure. It was the first event on the calendar for a lot of the international pros. So they would come down to New Zealand. It was always Waitangi weekend. It was always in February. Weather was amazing back then. And then I think that's why all the pros like coming down, purely because there was no pressure. It was hang out, ride, skate with your mates, party, and just have a great time.
Yeah, that's so true, because I actually remember a lot of the Australian bladers, like that was exactly what they said. They loved it because it was just a chill vibe, and it was there was no stress.
And it was the first time I think all codes were together, we had skate, BMX, moto, inline, everyone together. And I remember the rollerblading crews would always go and do those street sessions at nighttime. Like they'd find a ledge and, in town, and you'd go off and do do street missions, which is really cool. And the BMX guys would go off at nighttime and, do wine runs, and you have a cask of wine and you ride around and you try and find ledges to hammer, and it was just, and then you go out and you party literally all night, and you were riding the next day, but you get up on the start ramp on the course and look at everyone, and everyone's as shady as the next guy, so I think that was just hanging on for your run was winning for me,
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Probably some of the best times of my life.
That was certainly the best times of our lives too, eh?
Yeah, for sure. And I suppose that brings it around to my involvement and my business and my partner in it, Brendan White. So the last XC was 2007 in Wellington, and then it died off. Basically, what happened is Vodafone pulled funding, and it morphed into Jim Beam Homegrown. So Mark Wright, the next year, 2008, actually was going to come to Auckland. It was going to be the Trust Arena out west in Waitakere. So the full plans were done to bring it up here, and the Auckland Live was all over it. And then I'm not really 100% sure what happened, but then the first homegrown started in Wellington. From Mark Wright and his same team that were running XR, Mark and Rachel, started homegrown, and he only recently just sold that. So over the years, there's been nothing, and I've been in contact with Mark over the years, with throwing ideas around about he wanted to try and bring it back, but then there's all sorts of stuff happened, and so we sort of through COVID, through lockdown, really, myself and my partner and ex Brendan White, who he runs the D1NZ National Drifting Championship. And he is the head of Motorsport New Zealand as well. So he runs all the summer series and also the marketing manager for World Rally Champs. So, there's a huge event background between us both, and action from his event background, my event background, and my action sports involvement in competing. Yeah. And we put our heads together and rang up Mark and said, what's it going to take to take over the brand? And he was pretty keen. He'd been approached I think a few times over the years from various people in regards to bringing it back, but he wasn't going to let it go to just anyone. So there was a bit of criteria and bits and pieces, and we took it over in I think it was 2021, early 2021, when we finally took it over, like right in the middle of COVID, and basically gave us something to do through COVID. It was just head down, bum up, and let's bring it back, and secured some funding and did the first one back July last year.
Sweet.
And so what does the X era of today look like compared to the X era of old? in your opinion, now as
And
a rider versus organizer?
Look, I think the key fundamental for us bringing XAir back was the core value of what is XAir and what does it mean to people. And then as soon as we bought it, and the biggest thing was it's a fun event. And we wanted to keep it a fun event. And yes, there's pressure because everyone wants to beat their mates and bits and pieces, but we wanted to 90, probably about 90% of the competitors that rode XAir 2022 didn't even know what it was. Had no idea what it was. No idea. I mean, you can jump on YouTube and have a look. And so they didn't really know what to expect. We knew we had to come out of the gate kind of all guns blazing, otherwise it would be a flop. So we secured some funding. We had some great partners on board, and we came out of the gate with a live TV production, live scoring for events, which was a first in New Zealand for action sports. So it was never done back in the day. We were, viewed live across New Zealand on Sky TV, right through Australia on Foxtel. I think we had like 69,500 live viewers in Australia alone. And then plus, New Zealand with the live scoring. That was never done before. That's never been done. So we're pretty proud of that. And we built this huge course that was designed, with input from a whole bunch of various people, and built it inside. And we invested a lot of money into it. And then I think it went pretty well, and everyone had a great time. And like I said before, a lot of people didn't really know what to expect. When they opened those doors and into Trust Power Arena and had a look at the course. I mean, if I could film some of the people, some of the younger kids that looked at that park, and I mean, it was a big park. Like we're talking sort of, international standard size ramps. Like it was big, and some of the kids pulled out. They're like, no, we can't do this. This is not.
True.
But that's XAir, right? You turn up and you just go hard, or you go home. That's it. So we couldn't come in and build these little kicker ramps and a few small quarters and whatever. We had 7-8 foot quarters, and we had a jump box that was 3 sheets wide and like 8 sheets long. Like everything was just big. Big 10 stairs, big transfer lines, and you guys probably have seen it, but we had to come out and do it right. And hey, we didn't get it all right, but it was our first year back, and onwards and upwards.
Yeah, well, that was the interesting thing, was like when I saw it, I was just saying to Liam, like I didn't go, my family went, and I guess it's a strange thing for people that knew what it used to be like, comparing to what it's starting again, really, isn't it? So it's a different event again, but I'm glad that you did start it off again with such caliber, because like we were just talking about, I hope it ends up getting back to sort of what it used to be, with that same vibe and that same feeling, because for most of the people that competed in it, a decade ago, it was almost just the environment and the culture as much as like the competition.
Agree. Yep. And I mean, hey, it's we wanted to sort of come back with a bang. I mean, the last one was 15 years ago. Costs have gone up. Sponsorship dollars are a lot harder to get, especially with the kind of funding that we need to put on an event of that scale, to build the park, of that scale, and how we did it. So we really had to sort of come out all guns blazing, and myself and the team we had one goal, and it was like, we do it right or we don't do it at all, and there was all the way through, it was like, what are we doing, so we get the right people in the right industry in the right areas to come out and make it happen, because we got one shot at bringing it back. And if we missed the target, people would be like, that was rubbish, we're not going back. So, and now what's happened is like people are champing at the bit. When's the next one? When's the next one? When's the next one? International athletes are reaching out to us, and we're talking some heavy hitters, and all codes are coming directly to us, going, hey, we saw this online, or such and such told us that about this, or is this coming back, or what's going on? So that to me is I'm pretty happy with. It's going to grow organically without us reaching out and too much, which is what we want. And hey, and this time around, I think we've got the caliber of athlete in New Zealand now is like amazing across all codes, and we can hold our own against all the internationals now. I mean, it's pretty good. We're pretty happy.
Yeah, that
there's
is
a lot
good to
more
know.
we can do.
You did.
It's good. It's good to feel confident about that, because it must be a scary thing to try and start it again after that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like our ass was on the line. Like there was no blurred lines. It was like like I said before, it was we were all in with this, and we had to be all in. With our funding partners, our sponsorship partners and everything. They had such high expectations because a lot of them knew what XAir was, and that's why they came on board again. And they sort of put their trust in myself and our team's hands to bring it back. So we had to go indoors, we had to do the arena, we had to build the park from scratch. We had to do all of these things to make it work. And I think our little cherry on top was come straight out of the gate. Got to be live TV. Got to be live on TV. New Zealand and Australia hasn't been done before, so that comes at a huge cost as well. But again, I think that was like we've come out of the gate. It's not just a little competition. It's like this is broadcast live. We had Ed Lee commentating it. The BBC, the Olympic, commentator. We got the right people in the right positions that knew what they were doing to kind of make it all work. And hey, I'm going to put my hand up. There were definitely things we can improve on. I know that for a fact. But I think with our team and our experience and large scale events, we did it pretty good, I think.
Yeah. It shows you how it's changed too from 15 years ago, I think, because it's a different environment again.
Yes, a lot different environment. Like social media has played a huge part, and the promotion of it and the videos and the sharing, and I suppose this time around is adding the scooter element. Now we got a lot of grief from the rollerblading community, about why is inline not back, or why is this not happening? And at the time, I bounced the idea off a couple of the guys, like Grant Walker. I spoke to him, I spoke to Jago. Just said, hey, look, what do you guys think? And they said, oh, look, to be honest, probably not. Guys aren't really around or together, or at the moment. And I said, okay, that's fine. And we had to include Scooter because Scooter's massive. You can't deny how big scootering is in New Zealand, and the kids are amazing to watch.
Joss's kids love scootering too. Joss's kids are all about scootering.
So am I.
He's taking the piss. They're not.
I'm taking the piss out of Joss. So mine. Well, my son's into it.
Yeah, and my one of my daughters is, and I think, and they were really, really grateful to be like, wow, let's put scootering, on the map in New Zealand. People are, mum and dad have come with little Johnny, gone, actually, little Johnny is just mucking around. Like he can go somewhere with this now. And that's, I suppose, where we are with rollerblading now is, Liam and myself have had some pretty good discussions about bringing it back. And because rollerblading was a massive part of XAir all the way through, it sort of only feels right now to bring it back, and to get you guys, get in line, like back out there in front of people again and show everyone, like, hey, we're still here and the guys can still tell it. So, and that's why I think we, pretty excited to have you guys back.
Oh, we're certainly, as a sport, stoked for the opportunity. Like you said, that live TV audience is something that doesn't really, rollerblading doesn't get a lot of frontline media exposure outside of the fees in Europe. So having something down this end of the world is pretty bloody cool. And hopefully helps us attract a lot of overseas riders and overseas attention, to help boost the caliber of the show we put on. And it is a show, and we're looking forward to putting the best show on that we can. Not myself, because I can't skate anymore.
But I came to that Sunskate comp you guys did a few months ago, a little while ago now, and I was like, man, the guys are still out there ripping, So, and you gave me confidence that the guys would be happy with the course. Everything's quite big and quite burly, and there's some big grind rails and stuff. So, and I think it's just sort of fitting to bring it back and include inline back into it.
And we've kind of got a man on the inside as well as helping build the course, so that helps us
Sure
as well.
do.
Yeah,
I think he was the only one that skated the course on blades.
right.
Oh, true.
Yeah, like I said, he's
Yeah.
our inside man.
Yeah, he. I think it was the Wednesday night before when we finished it at like middle of the night. We finished the course and we were supposed to open the doors for qualifying on the Thursday, and then out comes Tim with the blades on, and away he went. I mean, mate, that guy worked like an absolute trooper. So of course, naturally, he's going to be the first ones to ride his course. So yeah, and he was like, yeah, this is dope. Yeah. So yeah, that's cool.
Speaking of course, you kind of nailed it. First one out the gate with a course that really catered to a lot of disciplines. Like I saw some cool skateboarding go down, and that massive flare transfer from that BMXer. Like there was enough big obstacles mixed with a lot of street obstacles, which you kind of don't really see around the world.
Yeah, I mean that was the biggest headache was the course build, the layout. Is like, how are we going to please all codes?
Yeah,
and we didn't please everyone, but it was one of those things that was like, the skaters are like, or people are like, what's the course? Is it park or street? It's like, well, it's not. It's a hybrid course.
Yeah.
So it's probably we look at it as it's the kind of course that you would go to a skate park and it would be there's a bit of everything for everyone. And then that's what we had to do. So the skaters wanted like Olympic size standard like rails, like 10 sets. Everything was quite big, burly. Whereas the BMX guys, we had to have 8-foot quarters and 3-sheet wide jump boxes. Like 7-foot quarters down one end and transfers and flares. And then food guys were like, oh, we want transfers as well and big stuff and tech stuff. So we went. When we built the course with the designer and we toed and froed and we went through a few of the skaters and BMXers and scooter communities to try and get everyone's input. And then, we just had to make a call and go, this is the course and we're going to build it. And everyone, I think, was pretty happy with what it was. There were still so many lines that weren't touched. There was so much to be done on that course yet. And how we made it, how the builders made it, and how it was designed is it's all modular. So everything's built in 1,200 wide sections. So we can completely change that park around.
Right.
Like
we can
completely move it and change it. No problem at all. And we are for the next one. We are changing it. So it's going to be basically the same, but there's going to be a few more elements in there, and that's, I think, the credit to the builders, really, who put all their heads together and made it like that, so we can move it all around.
Well, when we before every X-era was different as well, and that was one of the good. I actually really enjoyed how it was different every year, and yet it was growing and getting bigger every year as it moved from Claudelands to finally being in Wellington. But it not only got better, but it got it changed every year, was my point, and it was really good to not know what you were going to see. So,
and I think when I was talking to Mark about the course, Mark Wright, about how it was in Wellington, and we looked at that, and we did a lot of research and a lot of homework on course design, and how they're going overseas and what way they're going, and what seems to be happening. An exception probably of fees is it's very one directional courses now. So you down and back, you have a very clear line back and forward. So if you look at Street League, if you look at maybe not the last X Games, but their street courses, it's very back and forward. And that's what we wanted to do, is have it very back and forward, where you see some of those big open courses where riders can get lost a little bit, whereas if you have your back and forward run, you can't get lost. And another reason why is if I know Skateboarding New Zealand, as well as like we're trying to get people used to the international style of course, the style of run, how the runs are run and formatted and judged, and all of that, which is why we sort of built everything along the lines of that, and we had to make it fit into the arena was one of the big ones. That was 600 square meters of park we built in about 10 days. So
and not damage
the
floor.
Well, a little bit of damage to the floor, but not too much. Not too much at all. But so that was a biggie. Was the course, was the backwards and forwards and with everything, because it had to be big and burly for everyone. And people were like, oh, the course is too big, or the rails are too high, or the corners are too big. It's like, well, welcome to XAir.
Yeah.
That's what we are. It's we're not here to sort of muck around. It's like, go for it. Yeah.
So by the sounds of it, if it goes well, the next one, potentially it's just going to carry on.
Definitely, we've got a plan. We've got a future with the brand. So we've got the park now; it's all built. So we've got another year to run down at Bay Park, and then with the nature of New Zealand weather now, I mean, we have to run it inside, whether it's in the middle of summer or in the middle of winter, purely because, I mean, look at our summer. If we set that park up outside and it rains, it's game over. So we've had expressions of interest from Auckland. So Auckland are very interested to bring it up here, and we've also had Wellington knock on the door again to say, hey, we've got TSB Arena sitting down here. Remember when you used to have XAir?
Yeah.
Wellington Council is so behind anything like this. They've just got the hunger for it, and the locals down there love it. So there's a couple of options. It's Auckland or Wellington.
Mm-hmm.
But it is going to get bigger as we go. It's just sort of the old scenario of just crawling before we can walk, and just do it in stages. Like XAir 2007 took 7 or 8 years to get to that. So we're not out here trying to reinvent the wheel overnight. We want to do it properly and over the next few years. But I think already we're a massive jump ahead. So give us another couple of events, and I think we'll be pretty much a contender for one of the best sort of action sports events in Australasia. Now we're going to tack on more music. We've got the big air outside, freestyle motocross. Like more events inside. We've got the D1 out in the stadium. So there's so much more we can do. Big outdoor beer garden going in. If we put an outdoor stage in, it's just endless. What we can do with it.
Yeah, it's really exciting to think about people like actually getting excited to know that it's an annual event now, is because that's what I remember. We always, I was just saying to Liam before you came on, Steve, like we knew it was going to happen every year. So we even planned things either side of it. Like we would do, I think once we did like a 10-day road trip around the North Island before even getting to Wellington. So it was just knowing that it was coming up, everyone was psyched. And, you got to see everyone, not just from your sport as well. Like it was across the board. Everyone got to go to after parties. Everyone got to hang out like on the days and afterwards and before. So, get your wristband, get your lanyard. Yeah.
Everyone tries to be media, right? I don't know how many people emailed us to try and get a media pass to XAir. It was amazing. But I remember back in the day, that was me trying to get a media pass, like anything to get in or, because if you didn't qualify, you had to try and get in. But I think you're right. Like, you hit the nail on the head there. It's like, it's the whole journey to XAir. Yeah. You'd load up your mate's van and we'd be full of bikes and we'd just ride for a week until we got there, and then you ride and party and then feel sorry for yourself.
And a lot of
that drive home.
And a lot of people, even people that were involved in the last one that you just held, they probably don't get that yet. But if it keeps coming back every year, everyone will start to feel that vibe again, which I think is really exciting.
Definitely. Hey, even at this one that we had, we threw a bit of an impromptu, after party at one of the bars down at the main street of Mount Honorary, and like we kind of spread the word around, and everyone turned up. Like everyone turned up. It was like we had a table outside, and then that table just grew and grew and grew until we took over the whole. It was like a Viking banquet outside. It was just this massive long table of everyone from all codes were there. And then you go inside and all the media guys inside and everyone, we just completely took over the bar. And it was like, everyone was like, wow, this is awesome. Like it was just everyone talking shit. Like, it was really, really cool to have. So, we really want to sort of bring back just the fun side of XCR, So, I mean, we were going to do it in an annual event, but this year we had a bit of a rough time through XCR with, at the same time my wife's father was critically ill. So we had that to deal with sort of through. So that sort of threw a spanner in the works with a lot of things. And then the event space in New Zealand, the big event space, took a bit of a hit. In the last year there was so much going on. So we thought we'll have a bit, and the weather played a massive, massive factor into it. To when, like, trying to get dates, and then trying to get dates from Bay Park, it felt a bit too rushed and a bit too, we don't know what we're doing. So, we've taken this year off to really just reset, and then we're going to come back with a bang. So trust me on that.
Cool.
It's going to be good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What are the kind of the points that you can tell us that you're most excited about for the next XCR, I guess, in 2024?
Look, I think
Apart
the
from
show,
rollerblading being involved.
apart from rollerblading being involved, of course, yeah. I think people are in for a real treat on the next one, and I think you're going to get a little bit more of a vibe of XCR of old. So the first one out that we had at the gate, we did, between XCR and D1NZ, we had about 10,000 people through the gate.
Yeah.
So we're talking a pretty decent size over the couple of days. But so what we want to do this year is, now there were a lot of people that were on the fence. So, like, I don't know what XCR is. I'm not going to go. No, I'm not really sure what it is. But now everyone that didn't go are like, I'm going next year. Like, I'm there, like athletes to mums and dads to everyone. So it's going to be crowd-wise a lot bigger. Like that Bay Park we're going to fill, and it's going to be probably the thing I'm most excited about is who's coming down. So that's, it's going to be, that there's going to be athletes coming that haven't been here before, that people haven't seen, and a few have been here before, but people haven't seen them in this environment. So I think that's going to be a big one for us is who's coming down, and more, and a few other things that we're tacking on as well to the weekend.
That was a very politician-like answer.
Well, you can't give too much away, can you?
I'm trying.
Fishing,
you did very well.
Yeah. So we look. Hey, as much as I want to say, we can't do anything till anything's locked in. But it's going to be pretty cool. Of who's coming down. I had a few, just off the top of a few emails, like after XCR, right, of people going there, and there was this one in particular, and it was some lady who went to XCR back in the day, and met her husband at one of the old XCRs at one of the blind spot concerts, and then their kid was conceived in the van in the parking lot, and her and her husband now have got kids, and they live in Mount Maunganui, and they came. So there's all this. It affected so many different people in so many different ways. And it was really cool to see the next generation. And then she brought her kids along that were conceived at XCR in 2007 in the car park with a guy she met at the blind spot concert at XCR. And then they were back at XCR watching scootering and skating while blind spot were playing that night.
That's awesome.
15
really
years
cool.
later. It was, there's all this type of thing. It just means so much to so many different people that didn't compete or even necessarily like action sports.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's kind of what I was talking
really
about,
cool.
the whole vibe and the whole culture that goes along with it. And now it's expansive too, like you're saying. It's involving families and parents and all kinds of people. So it's not just for the competitors. Like, admittedly, when it was happening in Wellington, it sort of felt like it was just for us. That's how exciting it was. It was like, we're here. This is it. This is all we want to do. But now it's so much broader than that. So it's really cool.
Yeah. It is really, and you bang on the money with that. You did think it was just for us, didn't we? Pay no attention to the crowds or what goes on behind the scenes. You're just like, this is this is all for us, which was pretty cool.
It's what happened in the Novotel, and then what happened at the venue, and there was nothing in between.
Exactly, that's exactly right. And you always knew, like, the next year, if you didn't get a room on your list, you knew why.
Yeah.
You get your own
We've got pretty
accommodation.
lucky there, actually, every year.
And it was always like how many people can sleep in a 2-bedroom hotel room. That was fun. Yeah.
We
I think we had
I
about
remember slumming it, eh? It'd be the worst of the worst, sharing a bathroom, double beds, on the floor, sleeping on the bed bases, no gap between anyone.
Yeah, nothing. But that was all part of it, right?
Yeah.
That was all part of it, and I wouldn't change it, for a thing. So it's it's good to be able to bring it back,
Yeah, so we're hoping on our part for the Sunscape titles in a couple of weeks to be, to start the kind of the hype rolling towards that. So that's what we're gunning for next anyway.
Yeah, cool. I'm pumped. I can't wait to have you guys back, and it'll be good, and hopefully we keep Hamish McRae on a nice tight leash, because he's usually great fun though. We've had some great fun over the years at XR. I think he was like an honorary BMX rider at one point.
Nice. He does have the Shodcast episode with the most swear words in it per minute. He's got that title.
He's got that title. Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about celebrities, is there any chance that we're gonna is there going to be any involvement from Brooke Howard Smith from Target this year?
I tried.
You tried?
I actually reached out to him. Yeah. Yeah. I got left on scene. So yeah.
Well,
so
he's had his chance.
I think he's washed his hands with that part of his life, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He won't be getting a free massage on top of the vert ramp this year.
No, there's no free tickets for him this year. So
no free energy drink.
Thanks, Brooke.
But we did reach out to him. We're like, right, who can we get back on board? And he was the mouth of XR, right?
Yeah.
So
he was.
It's like, let's bring him back, and whether I don't know, he's moved onwards and upwards or whatever. But yeah, we really tried to get him. So I might try again.
It's too late. He's cut.
He's off. Yeah.
The only way he's getting in is if he qualifies at Sunscape. So
bring your skates.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
There is a veterans section, so he can still enter. If you want Brooke, you can still come along.
Yeah. I think we get him there. Eh? Yeah.
He's got his very special place in rollerblading. He's referred to as the California Condor.
Right.
Based on some of his dangerous crashes and big disasters.
Yeah. I forgot he used to rollerblade, eh?
Yeah, he was big in the scene very early on. Well, I don't have any more questions. I'm just really stoked you came on, and really stoked you're able to give us a bit of a flavour for what XC is going to be. And I guess if you're a rollerblader watching this, you've got an opportunity to turn up at the Sunscape titles and compete for a spot. You did mention international riders, and from a rollerblading perspective, we're casting the net pretty far and wide, seeing who we can get to come over, and we've had a lot of interest from a lot of the top riders, a couple of current fees riders as well who are interested. So can't name names obviously, but we're definitely trying to cast the net far and wide and make sure we're putting on the best possible show for everyone coming to watch rollerblading.
Yeah, no, that'll be good, and obviously, us XR, we can more than happy to help out, where we can, or if we need to host any of the guys or anything like that, we're doing that to sort of, a few of the guys that want to come down, and girls that want to come down, because I think XR is, all about the international element of it as well, like it always was. And the good thing about that is that pushes the Kiwis harder.
Yeah,
definitely.
It really makes everyone step up. It made me step up, even though I still failed miserably, sitting on the roll-in, next to Brian Nyquist and Dave Mirren and stuff. You're like, what am I even doing here? But, you're riding with your idols, So, and I think that's
yeah,
is
definitely.
I think that next generation coming through, who watch them on all these comps or whatever, but standing on the platform or on the park course, and you look across and you've got half a dozen of your idols and whatever sport it is, like that's pretty cool. Like for me, that was really cool. And then I think for a lot of the kids, or not even the kids, like that I think will really pump them up and be like, wow, this is something special. Even if they don't talk to them or they get a signature, just to be able to be like, I'm in a heat with whoever, wow, like that's a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah. It's such a cool opportunity, and it's like I'm sure like the people that don't know what it used to be, when they do find out what it feels like and what it's like, they're going to be really appreciative of all of your guys' effort and getting it back on course, really. So like I'm saying thank you so much for all the work that you're putting into it, because it's really cool thing to have coming back.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. And I think it kind of changed my life, XAir, in a really weird kind of way. It really upped my riding, and I met my wife through riding bikes. I met all my best mates through riding bikes, and it was just that time of your life where you do these big road trips with your mates, and you have the best time of your life. You really do. You just talk shit and drink beer, and that's all it is, and that's what we're bringing back. And even at the after parties, I remember some of the after parties in Hamilton and even in Wellington. It's like you're at the party and you're partying with like actual action sports rock stars.
Yeah.
And they're all as drunk as you at the bar, leaning on you, And I'm like, that's really cool, and that was the big thing we really wanted to capture with XAir. Like I said earlier, it's like the vibe of XAir. We were under a lot of pressure from a few of the other codes to be like, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to be an Olympic qualifying event, I'm like, we don't have to do any of that. XAir is XAir, and it's fun. And yes, we've got the platform to help create a path as well for some of these athletes if they want to go overseas. We've got sort of networks now with a few of the big comps that that we can sort of be a feeder event to, or even if not a feeder event, they can have the experience of skating in front of 3,000 screaming fans, in the grandstand, being on TV and doing runs. Like if you want to make a career, well, we can help lay the foundation here to prepare the athletes or the kids or whoever to take that next step.
And there's people looking for that too now. There's young kids in New Zealand looking for that. So
there is.
And a lot of them,
like when I was on the floor, for XF with the TV, telling all the riders when to go, and all the skaters and riders and everything, it was like even some of the conversations I heard up on the platforms, like skaters were going, bro, this is like straight out of Street League. Whoa, because they've got a camera in their face, they're like, and then their names are up on the big screen, and that's mum's watching at home or mates are watching, you know what I mean? And even the riders are like, this is like, this is pretty cool. We've never experienced this before. And that just added that extra out. So the next one, we are going to be live again on TV. So we're going to be live on Sky. We're doing live on YouTube. We're doing live on Foxtel in Australia again, looking at TV3 live as well. So it's going to be everywhere. And the YouTube's a big one because everyone's broadcasting live on YouTube now, but in New Zealand, it's like mums and dads want to sit and watch it on TV3 or they want to watch it on Sky, and that still has a big market here. And then we're lucky with my partner Brendan, who is heavy with the motorsport in New Zealand, is like that's what they do. They broadcast. He's got broadcast gear and trucks and everything. So we're lucky enough to be able to do it all on site. That was all cut and filmed and edited on site, from the broadcast truck. So we're pretty lucky to have that as well. So and that just pumps it up and as well, and helps the sponsors as well, and shows the world that little old New Zealand can do stuff again.
We also had
it's a big job.
Set up. So you had a mega ramp set up too, which we only ever had one attempted mega ramp set up in Wellington that time into the water.
That's right.
So you've already elevated the stunt level.
Yeah, so that was obviously Jed Milden's setup, with jump flags. They brought that along, and there's they can do 2 or 3 airbags in a row. Now we can, there's so much he can do with that setup, and that was the first event for that setup. So no one had seen that before. So that was another first, mega ramp. Looking at freestyle motocross again, and all sorts of stuff outside, a lot more trade stands on the inside, and make it a real event type vibe. Warm up area outside, or somewhere if the weather's good, we'll set up a few ramps and stuff outside, so there's a warm up area, because guys are like, we're coming in but we're cold, like we need to just get the body moving, and we're just throwing into our first run, so little things like that we're going to we're going to add. We listen to everyone and all the feedback that we've got, good and bad, and and we take it all on board, and we're going to do what we can to try and make it better. But pretty much every single person that competed and rode is like, we're back, when's the next one? Yeah, so we did something right.
Awesome.
So did you, lucky last question for me, did you get to ride the park or the mega ramp setup?
I rode the park on a borrowed bike for maybe 2 minutes.
So no footage?
And that was there's no footage. That was after doing 10 days straight, building that park with very little sleep, and my stress level through the roof. And you guys know what it's like when you're not 100% and you jump on and you want to ride a park. You're like, that's when accidents happen. And I was like, I'm going to end up in hospital if I ride this park.
It just doesn't seem fair, though. It just doesn't seem fair that you build it and then you get 2 minutes on the course.
Yeah,
Tim got more time on the course than me. So, but next time we're gonna have a closed, maybe a Friday night session for all us old boys, and we'll just have it with music and beers. Yeah. So that'll be good.
Things to look forward to.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Sure. Awesome.
Oh, sweet.
Thank you so much.
Very much, Steve.
No worries, no problems, guys. Anytime, and happy to help, and looking forward to seeing you guys at the Sunset Titles, and start to get your crew together and the road to XR.
Nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good sort of preamble to what it could be like. So we might even do a post Sunskates review, Neil, possibly.
I think so. I think we did the last one, so we may as well we'll do another one.
And
then hopefully we can pull off the Viking style banquet with Josh looking the way that he does for all sports to attend.
Let's do it. Yeah,
that's good.
That'll be fun.
It'll be in Tim's hotel room, so we'll see you there, Tim.
On his credit card.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
Excellent. All right, lads.
Okay,
I'll catch up in a couple of weeks. Okay.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks,
Good night. Good luck.
See ya. Bye.
See ya.
Parents are very strict. Where are you going with those skates? Wear your helmet. Are you doing that too? Are you jumping on those banisters?